Hi. I'm adjusting my camera and my lights. Can you hear me? Hi, Teresa. So good to see you. So good. Hello, everybody. Wonderful. As you see, I still have wet hair. We talked about some interesting things I'm going to talk about. I thought we'd talk about some spooky stuff today because we can, and I'm not afraid to. Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. Not bad for 66, but sometimes I feel it. Anyway, I have some family ghost stories to tell, and we can talk about the nature of reality and things like that. Because we live because we're affected, I think we're paying more attention to stuff that happens. I'll turn that down just a tad. That we're starting to we're starting to wake other people up and starting to be more perceptive about our world around us. And we did talk about, I have notes. we did talk about whether or not our whether or not we're affecting our reality or it's affecting us. I'm going to get on Facebook and post the stream real quickie, just in case there's some more people. I know there's some people that say, "Oh, I missed it." Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, you're very busy, Teresa. You're busy. Oh. Where's the URL for the? Oh, what the fricky dicky do? Really? Okay, I'll just tell them that. We are live. I tried to pick a time that was a little less interfering with other people's dreams and stuff because, I don't want to be, cross purposes. There we go. Yeah, you keep, I look at it this way, Teresa, you guys are finding all these Emmys and stuff, and it's like, I don't want to duplicate your work, and I personally think you're better at it than I am. I'm more about the nature of the mind and the spirit and, what sort of things we are have control of, and what sort of things we affect, and how they affect us, and things like that. Because I have a list of MEs that I want to do videos on, and I don't think anyone's done any of them on them. But I want to do it properly after I research. I don't just want to just jump in here and just start blabbing in my mouth without. I'm not MA. I can't. I don't have that kind of a mind, Um, I'm going to turn down my light just a bit. I look angelic. I'm so bright. Well, trust me, I'm no angel. Anyway. Yeah, so I know that Elle was talking about the pink dolphin. That there's just some things that just stick with us, when it comes to Emmys, things that we just go, wow, I'm still not over that one. That one's just a little bit crazy. And yeah, when the incident of the cup, yeah, that was something, to have the cup change from one cup to a different cup within a minute. I fill it up. I handled it. It was a white porcelain cup, one of my favorite. And it's the one I like to use. I have 3 of them, and it's just the right size. And I handled it and did all kinds of things. I put the wrong tea in it, so I took the tea out. I wanted to put the holy basil seeds in it, and I ended up putting Thai tea in it, loose leaf, and by mistake, because you're kind of sleepy sometimes. I wasn't really sleepy, I just wasn't paying attention. And so I'd handle this cup quite a bit. And then I put it in my media room, which is the room that has all my books, and that I do my gaming and stuff. My goodness. I wish there was a way to not have that reflection of the screen, but oh well. And I leave the room and I come back and it's a different cup. It's a big earth stoneware kind of cup, really thick with chips in the. I don't like it because of some chips on it, and it's turquoise colored. I think I'd notice if I had been handling a turquoise cup that morning, but no. And it didn't fit in the spot I'd gotten the other cup out of in the cover. So there you go. So the nature of reality. How much do we have control? I gave everybody an assignment last week, and it wasn't anything hard. I'm not like MA that give you a big complicated thing to do. No. I'm a busy person. I don't have time for that kind of thing. But I just say, okay, the spiritual people say, you ask your angels or your guides or whatever for a sign, or your family or your ancestors for a sign that they're near. Ask for whatever you're prompted to ask. And I said frogs. I want to see frogs. Frogs. It can be feathers. It can be dimes. It can be pennies. It can be a song. It can be anything you want. And see how much your expectation and your belief can affect what happens. I've met Cynthia Sue Larson a few times at Psychic Fair. She lives in California. Lovely person. And she talks about the nature of reality, the quantum level, and how much we really have more control over, our reality. I don't know if you can hear the birds singing out there. They're singing just for you. So here we have this whole idea that the scientists are saying, well, on the quantum level, everything is energy. And if we, being energetic beings, can affect that, then who knows? I have manifested pretty amazing things I have. And so I know there's something going on. And I wonder sometimes, with all of us, with the ME, so many of us are experiencing this. How much of it are we collectively, maybe that will help, collectively creating energetically into reality? So there is that. But I wanted to see frogs. Okay, frogs. Frogs, frogs. And I was doing, I do a tarot channel. As far as I know, I'm not evil, so they're just cards with pictures on them. But I was working with my animal spirit cards, and I was just shuffling and doing things, and lo and behold, if the frog didn't pop out all on its own, I'm going, okay, that's one. And the frogs popped up a few more times as I was doing my thing, in odd ways. They weren't. It wasn't like where I've always seen a frog, for example. Okay. So I would be interested if you want to try this experiment. See how much is it perception? Is it simply we're more perceptive? Is that why we see the Mandela effect? Or are we creating Mandela effects by our belief? Or are we what? I mean, I don't think anyone has a definitive answer. What started it? Was it the bombs in Japan started it? Is it CERN? Is it something else? Is it, God? I mean, whatever you think is the supreme guiding energy of the universe, whatever. So, this is always stuff that I'm thinking about. And it's like we know the cryptids. Have you noticed, back in the day, back in the 90s, 80s, 90s, people believed in cryptids, and there was an occasional sighting, and most of us thought they were a little wacky doodle. But now they're getting photographed, they're being seen by credible people, by multiple people, and I'm thinking, well, okay, is this are they just being seen more because we're looking for them, or are they there because we believe them? It's like the whole concept of the tulpa. So the Mandela effect, you see houses change color overnight. I've seen that happen, which is just, I said, in the neighbor's house, I said, damn, I thought the house was different color. And then, my kid, oh, it's always been that color, since they painted. I'm going, no. And you start to think you're like, you're a little, ooh, you know what I mean? You think you're a little nuts. You're not. You're not, because the nature of reality is not, I don't think it's ever been what we think it is. What, we used to, I think when I woke up to the ME, the great realization was this world really isn't what I thought it was. And it took me a year, really, to grapple with that. And it was like, I was like, had this pervading depression and sadness and stuff like that. Oh, now this, okay, finally. That finally gave me the address. Anyway, so here we have, what is the nature of reality? How do we cope with it? How do we cope with the fact that nobody, hey, Pita, Pita, Pita. How are you, Pita? We were just talking about the nature of reality. At least I was. The reason I do YouTube is I have no one to talk to. I have my sons I love dearly, but I mean, sometimes you just want other people to talk to, right? We were talking about the thought experiment that, I asked to see frogs, and they came, how much we affect our reality, how much our reality affects us, and where do they meet in the middle, and in what way are they, in, what's real, what isn't real. And I've gotten to the point where here I'm not sure what is real, what is reality, what is real. Well, I think we're real. I think maybe people are the only real thing here. Animals maybe. Uh, but I mean, a lot of the stuff we look at history and it's different. So I think that I have one theory that we're shifting to gather pieces of our soul that that got fractured in too many timelines, and each time we shift, we pick up another piece of ourselves. I mean, that's an idea. It's just as good as anyone's, right? Because here we have this, you see people. Now, this might explain why you see some people that you swear there's nothing in there, that they don't have a soul, or there's something not quite right. We call them NPCs because it's like they're not complete people. I know it sounds awful, doesn't it? It sounds terrible to say that, but I mean, there are just some people. I was working as occupational therapy assistant as a student doing my field work, and I swear I had at least one, clinical. I had two clinical instructors that were very nasty to me and didn't like me, and I guess maybe they were jealous. I mean, because I'm so wonderful. I don't know. I mean, I was well liked by the doctors and nurses or the children I was working for, and they somehow resented that. And these are women that were a little younger than me, who'd been in the career of occupational therapy as occupational therapists for 20 some years. There's no reason for them to be resentful. But I think those of us who were affected, people will just be mean to us and resent us. And I'm trying not to sound paranoid here, but I think we've heard stories of people just going off on us for no reason, and you just wonder, what the heck was that about? I didn't do anything. And then you'll have some people that respond really well to you, and so you wonder, well, are those other people that they have more of their soul because we've been picking up our soul as we move. And oh, my nose itches. It's me. I don't know. Okay. Emmy's aside. Teresa, I never did find out what particular ME got you into all this. What hit you aside the head and got you thinking, well, this is strange. Would you be willing to share what it was that you had happen? Me, it was the Kennedy assassination, because I was alive when that happened, and I remember all the TV coverage and stuff. I mean, each of us will have a different experience. I know some people it was what was it? It was songs. People who know songs really well. We are the champions of the world, and they don't say of the world. And I remember carpool karaoke. Everyone's singing in the car, and they all go to sing of the world, and it's not it's not playing, and they all just like, So it begs to wonder: is everybody really affected, and they just aren't paying attention, or they haven't awakened that part of their curiosity and that wonder? So it's kind of, yeah. And it's, I felt incredibly alone, except for the group that, thank God for them. They're like a therapy group. It's people to talk to that understood that I wasn't crazy. Although, people probably still think we're crazy. I have one son for sure that believes, another one that's mostly, two of them that believe me, okay, because they've seen it. They were really into Pokemon. And Pikachu had a black end to his tail. Now he's never had a black end to his tail. And that's like, they're just like, because you can look. Now they him and haw about the Star Wars stuff because we know George Lucas is an asshole and can change things. So they just chalk that up to him changing, reboots of the movie or whatever. Although I don't think that's what happened, but they don't trust him. But when it came to Pikachu, man, and I know eye colors changed on some of them and stuff like that. Yeah. How some TV coverage we saw is either a hoax or has a different event to it. I remember, the Kennedy assassination. Lee Harvey Oswald never shot anybody. They never had any evidence of him shooting anyone. Now he's shot a cop who's a big hero because he died, and that whole thing. It just doesn't set right. No, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I mean, I'm not a person who will embrace a lot of that stuff. But some things, I won't have an answer. But I know it's hecka strange, as they say in Northern California, hecka or hella strange. And there's just no putting your head around it, really. Okay, so I'm busy with my tarot channel, so I'm not doing any videos, but I will probably get one when I get sort of a rhythm going. I'm still working on getting my house in order. It's a slow go when you have to have your kids help you with things because you're not strong enough to make bookcases and stuff like that. So let's talk about, we're very close to Halloween. Tomorrow is Halloween. It's when the veil is very thin. And I know a lot of us, have had paranormal experiences. And I don't know if people who are affected have more of them or not. I've never done a survey. But it makes me wonder, if we're sensitive to changes in our reality, are we also sensitive to other things? So I had, I have a story here of that you've probably heard of a man was in this house, and he sees what he thinks is a spirit going up the stairs, and he, and the spirit turns around, looks at him, and they startle each other. And I'm going, well, who was the ghost? Were they both the ghost? Were they the other person the ghost to them because they were looking that somehow that fabric between time and space got a little hole in it? So I've always wondered, now I'm reasonably psychic. I'm sensitive. I've had some bizarre experiences. I'm not like, one of those famous psychics or anything. We're all sensitive if we're paying attention, I think. And especially since I've been meditating and stuff and everything, so I can be in tune to my intuition when I do readings. I'm going to be more sensitive and more aware. And so I'm like, I haven't been out and about much because of various reasons. We all know. And so I'm wondering, well, let me tell you a few stories of things I have experienced if you'd like to hear them. Oh, the ringing in the ears. Mine's not horrible, but yet it's been off and on bad for the last week. It's really high pitched right now, not too loud, but sometimes it's just, it's uncomfortable. And it could be a side effect from shifting. I don't doubt that, not at all. Well, let me tell you a few stories, if that's okay. I have a Discord server that I have on the description. It's called Skook's Strange World. If you'd like to do some audio chat in there, that I can even show you pictures. You can show each other's faces. It's better than Hangouts in that it's a little more stable. But Hangouts is, I don't know why they changed that. Anyway, the story. There's a place where they discovered gold in California. It's called Coloma. And it was discovered by one of the workers. There's a little stream there. It's about 20, 30 feet across. It's not big enough to be a river. And it's pretty swift, and it's a rock bottom stream, very clear water. And they discovered this gold nugget this big. I kid you not. And multiple nuggets. And this started the gold rush to California. Historic thing. Well, we used to go up there as a family and have picnics. It's very lovely. And they have picnic tables, and it's pretty. It's very pretty. It's what we call the gold country in the hills east of Sacramento. And I love this area, but it has a lot of buildings that have been reproduced. There's some that are original, and so it's very historic, very old. For us, nothing like in the UK or something where things are really old. So here I am, walking around with my kids, and they know I'm weird. Just ask them, they know I'm weird. And so I'm walking around, and all of a sudden I feel something. And this is before the ME. I knew about the ME. So I just said, this is pre-ME experience. This is just weird stuff I've had. I'm feeling an energy change between I stand here. I feel when I stand there, it's different. There's a barrier, and it's a big round barrier about, I'd say 50 feet across, or, something like that, 30 feet across, just the size of a communal bark structure that the Native Americans would build for whatever reason. And I can only think that's probably what it was, because it was something that used to be on that site that activities happened in that were significant. So I'm just walking around the perimeter feeling it. I can feel it. And my kids are like, Mom's being weird. Yeah, okay, I'm weird. All right. Live with it. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And then we go into the museum. Now, the museum is such that it has a door, and the door opens, of course, in to the right. And to the left is a glass case with facsimiles. They couldn't possibly put the real nuggets in there. They wouldn't be there long. But facsimiles of the nuggets, molds of the nuggets they had found. Absolutely stunning. I think they gold plated them so they'd look authentic. They're absolutely... if you've never seen a huge gold nugget, it's like, wow. You'd be set for life with one of those, right? And I'm looking at those going, wow. And all of a sudden I feel this, what's something at my back? And it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. It's like something creepy. Some creepy energy behind me. And, we close the door. My kids are with me, and they go past me because there's all kinds of exhibits in there. And I turn around, and it's a stump. It's a piece of a tree, about 2.5 feet tall, and about, this big around. It's probably 100 plus years old, And I'm looking at this tree going, what's this tree doing here? And then I see a plaque. It's got carving on it. Names carved on it. And apparently a family had been killed by natives. Can't blame them for being annoyed with us. And they ended up being buried at the foot of this tree, and they had to move the tree for a road. Now, I'm dang certain they probably didn't dig up the bodies if there was anything left of the bodies. So here we have a tree, and you know what trees do? They pull up nutrients from the soil, right? We've all heard about hauntings of places because I'm going to put cream in my tea because of someone being buried there, affecting the tree in some way. And so I'm just looking at this going, and I have this horrible feeling, like, oh, this tree, I felt it was so disrespectful, to be honest. I realize not everybody would agree with me. I mean, what are they supposed to do? Not build the road? That's not how things work in this world. Come on, let me get the other tea bag out of this thing. It won't come up. So I'm thinking, I'm feeling sick. I was starting to feel sick to my stomach before I even turned around, and I feel tingly all over. I feel tingly again just thinking about it. And here we go, the other tea bag. And so here we have, this ability to sense things. And I think that in large part, I think that that's one of the things that sets us apart, is that we have this ability to sense things. So that was one thing that I had experienced, and it was not pleasant at all. Now, years later, I'm at another place near Yosemite, which is a national park, beautiful, to see the Fire Falls. Now, the Fire Falls is a waterfall that's really high up on a cliff, a precipice, and it comes down in this beautiful stream. And certain time of the year, I think it's twice a year, the sun hits it in the morning at just the right angle that it glows like it's molten lava coming out of there. It's just absolutely beautiful. Well, we stayed in a hotel, very old hotel, Gold Rush era hotel, that had, been the loving place of a lady who owned it, who'd passed, of course, and she's known to check up on her guests and visit them when they're sleeping and stuff. Well, I'm a light sleeper anyway, and I'm sleeping, and I sense somebody in the hallway, and it's like 2 in the frickin' morning, it's like, and then I sense her. I sense someone next to me, and I feel it's her. And I said, "Well, thank you." I said, "Well, I'm not going to have her staring at me all night while I'm trying to sleep." Bless her heart. She's just checking on us, making sure. I said, "Your hotel's lovely. We're having a lovely time. Thank you so much for taking such good care of it." And then she was gone. Well, that's a common experience for me. I'm sensitive. I notice these things. Then down the street, there's another hotel that's a grander and has a restaurant at the bottom. And my daughter said, "Well, let's go look over that one. Let's take a look at it." You can see people eating through the windows around it and everything. It's very grand. And it's been, refurbished. It was a very much older place before it was what's there, I guess. They added to it. And we're walking along, And we're just about to approach the thing where they have a raised cement sidewalk. We're on like a rough ground sort of thing. And all of a sudden, and then right before we get to that, all of a sudden we both stop. It's like a brick wall. And it's like, I'm just like going, whoa. I'm starting to feel sick. She's starting to get a headache. And it's like the energy was so bad. I don't know. And this is residual stuff. This is stuff like, I think that between hi Gwyneth. But anyway, so I'm not sure. Residual stuff is like picking up from another timeline, perhaps. Good to see you too. But it's like going to, I think the timelines, some of us are sensitive to something that happened there in the past or in another timeline or whatever you want to call it. That's what the residual stuff is. Not everyone senses it, not everyone sees things. But my daughter, being my daughter, these things, sometimes these abilities are inherited. You'll find people, affected people in the same family or psychic people in the same family, whatever. And we're just standing there and it's like, we're both like, the energy is so bad. It's the energy of like someone who was hanged there or something. That kind of horribleness. That kind of, if you're a sensitive, empathic person, I think those of us who are affected are much more empathic. I mean, we can't believe how people treat each other here. We're sensitive to that more so than, some other groups maybe. But I mean, we're just like, oh my God, And I said, and we see people eating there munching on their breakfast. I said, I don't know how they can sit in there. I do not know how these people can sit down in this place with this energy and munch on their breakfast. But lucky, I guess, that I can sense these things, right? Been a joy and a treasure to me, I can tell you that. Let me tell you, I do want you to do that thought experiment and ask your guides, God, spirits, or just the universe in general. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's just what this was. But anyway, ask to see something like frogs for me. Do this experiment this next week and see if something you like pennies or whatever show up more for you. Just real quick. Yeah. What did we feel at that place? We felt sick. We felt this. What would be the right word? Evil, nastiness, hatred. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's those of us who are affected. I think we peg people pretty quick, don't we? Animosity. Yeah. We peg people. We'll run into people and just go, oh, no, 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 no. I think we're more, I think maybe just in general we pay more attention. But I mean, we'll run into people like, oh, I do not, it's like those two CIs that I had that they really had a lot of darkness in them. And, one was petty and, was trying to get rid of me. She got in trouble. Hey, Claire, so good to see you. But I mean, you run into these people that they have darkness in them. And it's like they act, they're like regular people. I said, what? We all have our shadow side, right? But I mean, there are just people here that are just, ooh. And I ran into two of them. And the funny thing is that the people that I knew that were friends of mine had described these people completely differently. And it's like, well, what happened? They're not they're, and they were even said, well, they're not like how they used to be. I said, well, that's because you've shifted. And this person is not who you thought it was. They're not the same person. And I think that, you start talking that way around people, they think you're nuts, right? But that there's something not right. And it's like, I wondered, when did I start shifting? And I think it's a lot sooner than I think that 2012, that was the big one. But I think individually, every time we had some real trauma in our lives, something really upsetting, that's a possibility we shifted at that time. I really think, when my stepfather died, my brother was in the hospital with cancer. Sure, those are life changing things, but things were just different after that. And yeah, I was a caregiver since age 14 to my brother until I was 22. Um, and I didn't do a lot of things teenagers do because I had family responsibilities. Do I resent that? No. It was a gift, really. But our life experiences, when we have those huge things that happen that change everything, I wonder sometimes if that was a shift. If the trauma upon ourselves emotionally shifted us in some way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, Claire, I've been worried about you, girl. You need to take good care. I know you got a lot on your plate. You got a passel of kids, but I mean, most of us who um, who have are affected. Life seems to give us all kinds of goodies, don't they? All kinds of fun things that we get to experience that are not fun at all. Wow. Yeah. When you wake up and you feel like kind of not quite grounded in your body. That's why when I was doing readings, I felt so exhausted and disconnected when I was done. So I said, well, I need to. I went and got myself. I do have a jade medallion with a phoenix on it, which there's a whole story behind that one, which I'll tell again sometime. But this has got the yin and yang. It's got the bakwa on there, protection. It's got the phoenix and the dragon, which is the phoenix is feminine, the dragon is masculine. It has a yin and yang symbol, and it's obsidian. And it's like I do a grounding practice and a meditation every day. And now I don't get tired when I do my readings. Is that all in my mind? Maybe. If it works, who cares if it doesn't hurt anybody, right? Yeah, you have to kind of find your own truth. um so I mean, that's something there. Okay. So I've told you the story about the hotel ghost. I've told you a story about um Coloma. Let me tell you the story. No, I my mother, okay, my mother, she'd been through a lot in her life, but I swear something happened latter part of her life, and she, or happened to me, where I honestly, she was a stranger to me. Now, she didn't have dementia. She just didn't have the personality she used to have. Life can changes. I know that. I mean, it's not like I can prove it, but I swear she's just like, was just, when she passed, she'd been sick for a couple of years and I had been her caregiver. And so when she passed, it was more a relief than anything. And the last time I saw her in the hospital, I almost brought all her stuff home because I knew she was going to pass that night. I couldn't stay because my husband was not supportive in helping me spend more time with my mother. Um, that's a whole nother story. Um, so I knew she was going to pass, and I said, "Well, I can't take her stuff home because my sister would think the nurses stole it or something." I was like, "No, I didn't," but I knew she was going to pass. I said goodbye to her and said, "Kiss." I said, kissed her on the forehead and said, "You're going to be fine." But I mean, my sister goes through all this histrionic mourning about my mother, and she's 14 years older than me. They had a complicated relationship, so a complicated mourning and everything. But I mean, I didn't. I was just relieved. I was exhausted. I had a baby, I had a toddler, and one other child, and I mean, and a husband who was nuts, crazier than a pet coon. Raccoons are more fun. Um, He's bipolar and he wasn't medicated properly, and it was a nightmare. So maybe I didn't have the opportunity to grieve. But really, I felt my mother had been gone quite a while, and that I don't know who she, this person who died was not somebody I really knew. And I know that sounds really, really awful. Anyway, but she'd had experiences that she told me when she was a younger woman. And one was they were down in Southern California during World War II, the end of it, when my dad was working in, well, I'm separated but not divorced. I was going to file for divorce in November, but my son says, can you wait until after the holidays because we want to enjoy our Christmas time? I'm going, okay. Because, I've prepped him, after 24 years is, time. Just saying. We're going to keep the house in common. It's a duplex so that our children have a home and he has a home and I have a home. We're not going to divide up everything. That's a waste of everything. And we're not going to use a lawyer. We're going to use a service you can get and have everything. We agree on everything. You don't need a lawyer. Okay. Anyway, my mother was down south in Los Angeles. That's how she always said it. And they had gotten to a little cottage, and I think my brother Clark was a baby, and my sister was a toddler, toddler, whatever, 3 years difference maybe. She was 3 and he was she was 3.5 and he was 6 months, or I mean whatever. I think he was walking. So anyway, they lived in this little house that my Uncle Haynes, my dad's brother, used to be in. My dad was working as some kind of a machinist in a munitions factory. I don't know if he's supervisor, something like that. He had been asked to go down there. He never went to war because he had skills. They didn't want him dying. But anyway, this house was a cute little thing. It was just, super cheap, super cheap. Let that be a warning to you. Something's really cheap. And my uncle had stayed there and he hadn't said anything. And, my sister was still in a crib. So I'm not sure if, what the timeline exactly was. So maybe Clark wasn't born yet. I'm not sure. Because my brother Clark was born in Hollywood. So maybe she was pregnant. But my sister was the child from hell. She wouldn't sleep. She was hysterical all the time. She had a horrible temper, that sort of thing. And they hear her jumping up and down in her crib, which she was very prone to do. Boinga, boinga. The old cribs with the metal thing, you can, that boinga, boinga, boinga sound, And my mom says, it's your turn. My dad gets up. Okay. To be fair, he's not quite awake. And he goes over and he sees what he thinks is my sister. Well, what else would you think? Jumping up in the bed in the crib. And so he goes to grab her to put her back down. And lo and behold, if it doesn't fly out of his hands and fly across the room into the fireplace. And he looks down at the crib and there's my sister asleep. Okay. What do you call that? And later, my family, my father's side used to get together for, reunions and stuff. And they would visit each other. I think my uncle was probably down there too for something. And, my Uncle Haynes says, did you see the little ghosty? Didn't tell my dad. But yeah, he saw the little ghosty. Oh, what? Is that an elemental? Is that a fairy? Is that a, house elf? I mean, was it ever alive? Yeah, that's why people, oh, they, you hear these stories about people in haunted houses. Only the women and children see it. None of the men do. Well, this case, my dad did. Well, the men in my father's side of the family are very psychic. My mother's side as well. So there's nothing I could do about that. But I mean, a little ghosty. How about that? And there's another story my mother had in another house down there. Now you know all about. Yeah, it. I mean, I bet if I told the story to somebody in Europe or the UK, that they would say, "Oh, we know what those are." And but my mother was in my family was in another house down there. Um, I'm pretty sure it was another house, also cheap. And you know about sleep paralysis. We all know about that nowadays, where you feel like something's pressing on your chest and you can't move. It's like you're awake enough to be aware, but your body is still in that sleep mode where it says you can't move, so you don't act out your dreams. I always think that's kind of a mistake that happens if sleepwalking, is that you end up. Uh, we all miss you, Peter. We all miss you. You always come, please, always come. Um, and so we have this. Okay, what is this? What is sleep paralysis? We hear about it all the time, and it's about the brain not letting your body move. And when you sleepwalk, it's letting you move when you're dreaming when it's not supposed to. And if you take Ambien, you kill your husband when you're in your dream state. So you got to watch that because the Ambien, I guess, keeps you messes up that not letting you move with your dreams, I guess. Yeah, I missed you too, Claire. So here's my mother, and I'm thinking, well, is this a sleep paralysis thing? Because you'll see some weird stuff. But I think this happened more than once. And there's other weirdness that's been going on there too. So here she is, she's in bed, and she feels hands on her legs, holding her legs down. Now that's a little different. Most people feel a pressing on the chest, inability to move. They don't usually feel hands holding your legs down. That's not a feeling anybody wants to feel in the middle of the night. And she opens her eyes and she sees the most bizarre thing at the end of her bed. She sees it looks like a lab coat, a doctor's coat, just the coat. Nobody in it. And that, I mean, I don't know. That doesn't seem like classic sleep paralysis to me. She also had an ongoing battle with the closet. They had a walk-in closet kind of thing that had a light in it. It had a window, I guess. I don't know. I just know that it had a light that you pulled down to turn it on, I believe. And she was always having this ongoing thing about turning the light off, turning the light on. It would just behave abnormally. Um, oh, I'm leaving notes here. One more thing. I do have a story about a ghost I actually saw. Now, I don't think this was a spirit. I think this was looking into a timeline slip. I was stopped. It was 105 outside. It was hot, hot. And I'm in my car. Yeah, I believe ghosts have both abilities to form physical pressure on a person and also form enough energy to make you feel cold hands. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, I'm stopped at this stoplight, and it's a 2-lane road, you know, one way. It's not a big road. You can see everything. I can see around the corner. There's just fence around the corner. There's no places to go. And I see this man, looks like he's dressed in a blue wool uniform. Didn't look military, so it looked like the old time from the 60s mailman with that medium blue uniform. Didn't have a hat on, but it's like 105 outside. And he's walking along there, and I see him, and I'm checking for people, pedestrians. I go like this and come back that quickly, and he's gone. I'm going, there's nowhere for him to go. And technically, oh, I just saw a ghost, but was it a ghost? You see, that's the thing. Was it a ghost? I don't know. What do we define as a ghost? Oh, there's one other story. My Uncle Haynes, we're back in Sacramento now. My Uncle Haynes had lived in an old Victorian house, which somebody destroyed and ruined in the 90s before they make it a law, before they could tear up a Victorian house. It's an eyesore now. I went to go visit him. It's not even the house it used to be. But anyway, it was a Victorian house. Had the stone steps and the stone, like a slide on each side of the steps, And the story was that all the Victorian homes had been worked on by a carpenter, a particular carpenter, master carpenter, who had loved these. He put his heart into his work. And if you've seen these Victorian homes, they're just a work of art. They're just gorgeous inside. Beautiful, beautiful buildings. And there's laws now to preserve them in Old Sacramento. Well, he was known to appear in several of the homes, and I had heard this story. And, since my cousin and my sister both like 17, 18 years old, you hear the poltergeist stuff. You hear about women, especially young women, especially having this psychic energy that just sort of fuels things. So my sister is also very, very, very psychic. She passed a few years ago, but she was very psychic. So, and probably my cousin as well. So it's like, I don't know how much was a poltergeist kind of thing, or, but you'd hear steps going up the stairs. You'd hear toilets flushing and stuff like that. Well, my mother had moved after her divorce from my father to help my uncle with his snack bar because my uncle was going blind because of diabetes. And so we were living in the basement. And I tell you, there's no smell that you ever forget if you've ever lived in a basement. But it was cold down there. But we had some light and air. It wasn't bad, but it had a very steep, narrow staircase with a light switch at the top. And I was 8. Okay. And I knew about the ghost. I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, I grew up around talk of this kind of thing. Every time we had a family reunion, there would be an exchange of the most recent paranormal experiences. So I'm starting to go up the stairs, and it turns the light off on me. It's a switch, okay? And I was so angry. I said, that is not a nice thing to do to an 8-year-old girl. I chewed it out. How many 8-year-olds would chew out a ghost? It never happened again, but it's like, oh yeah, you could say, well, it's just faulty electrical. I said, never happened again. Well, there you go. That's the Discord. No, that's the wrong one. That's this stream. Let me get the sorry. Let me get the link for Discord. That's the Discord link. If you'd like to pop in there and I can hear something you have to tell me instead of just hearing me yammer on. Excuse me. Yorkshire tea. Nothing better than a cuppa. When I was about 11, about 10 o'clock at night in front of the house on the road on a freezing cold night, I walked across the road through a pocket of warm air. Obviously, a ghost farted. That is weird. That is weird. That is very strange. Yeah, I have the regular Yorkshire, and I put this is such a big container. I put a regular tea and a decaf one in there, so it'd have a lot of flavor. No wind at all. I stepped into it warm, stepped out cold. Yeah, it's kind of like that barrier. I felt it here, but it wasn't there. You know, there was a difference in the energy. With you, it's temperature. And we know that, you know, people they always talk about cold spots in haunting, but there's also warm spots also that occur. Definitely. Did I go over everything? Yeah, I think I did. And let me tell you the story of Indian Johnson's house. My mother grew up along the Columbia River in Washington State. I was born in Yakima, which is also up there. But Alderdale is underwater now because when they put the dams in, it actually covered up where my great-grandmother's house was, which they moved and made into a museum, which I would love to go to see. But my mother was a kid there, and there's lots of snakes, and nobody ever got bitten by snakes. I think the snakes were used to people or something. You know, this is my pet snake. Hi, rattlesnakes everywhere. Anyway, she told me a story that when she was growing up about, you know, there was this dilapidated like barn-looking thing in the middle of the land there by the Alder Creek. And she says, well, that's, you know, the Indian Johnson's house. And I mean, it must have been there 100+ years. And there's a story about this Native American who'd hanged himself there. And it's been haunted ever since. It was one of those things the kids would go and do to prove their courage kind of thing. So, I mean, you know, was it really haunted or is it just a legend? Only, I'm starting to think that some of the legends we have are actually real things now. Anyway, please hop over to Discord if you'd like to talk, and I will shut up and listen. How about that? That'll be a first, right? So I'm going to pop over there. I want to thank you all for coming by. It's so nice to see you. You have a wonderful day. And Claire, please take care of yourself. Thank you so much. And keep thinking those good thoughts.